Hey, what's up? John Sonmez from simpleprogrammer.com. So I got a question here, another question about college and getting degrees, prestigious degrees here. So this question is from Thomas, and he says, "Hi John, thanks for your videos. You have been a huge source of motivation for me. I searched your channel but couldn't find anything on this. Here's my question. To get a job at one of the best paying software development companies such as Microsoft, Oracle, or Google, will you need a degree from a prestigious university? My dream is to own my own company someday like yourself, but thought getting experience at one of these companies would be a good way to learn most of what I would need to know. I'm in Canada and going to a more affordable university. Do you think I would still have a shot at getting hired at one of these companies? I'm also thinking about moving to the USA for work after getting my degree, which is another topic. But if you have comments on that, I would love to hear them. Thanks for your time, Tom." So Tom, I don't think you need a degree from a prestigious university in order to get a job at like a Google, Microsoft, Apple, Oracle. But I'll give you kind of my take on it. And again, I don't work for one of these companies, but I hear enough in the industry to sort of have an idea of how I think things work. You know, I could be wrong here, but this is my take on it. This is what I think. So I would say that a lot of these companies, they have recruitment programs at these prestigious universities, and they pull a lot of people who are newly graduating or through internships, and they want to make lifers out of them. They want to get them from the beginning, never have them work for someone else, and just kind of train them up. And they want to get the best of the best. So they go to these universities and they find the best of the best students, and they hire them directly out of there. And that's one way to get in. And I think a lot of people get in that way. So that's probably out for you. That's fine. Not a big deal. But since you want to be an entrepreneur, maybe that's not the best way anyway. So that's factor one. Then the other developers that they hire don't necessarily come from these prestigious universities. Some of them do, but you know, I know plenty of people that work for Google and Microsoft, I guess I don't for Oracle, but for Apple, that didn't graduate from Harvards and Yales and MITs and Princetons and whatever. They graduate from just a normal school, or I know some that don't even have a degree and work for these companies. In fact, I got into HP without a degree, right? So how did they get in there? Well, from what I understand, the biggest factor that's going to determine you getting into one of these companies is your ability to pass their technical interview, right? I did a blog post on this topic on cracking the coding interview, and I talked about Gail's book on cracking the coding interview of the same name. You can check out that blog post. But essentially, these companies have specific interviews. You know, I know I've interviewed for Microsoft before. I know plenty of people that have interviewed for Microsoft and for Google. And they basically ask you these really difficult coding problems. They ask you to solve them on a whiteboard or to type them out, and you have to understand, you know, the data science behind this. You have to understand algorithms, data structures, and how to solve these types of problems. I talked about a site that you could practice these on called Top Coder. I used to compete on the site. That's what prepared me for these interviews, and I was able to ace these interviews. I also did actually a Pluralsight course on passing a job interview, and in that I walk you step by step walking through some of these problems. I'll probably do something like that here on Simple Programmer to help with these interviews. Let me know if you're interested in that, and maybe I'll put together some actual examples of coding these up. But the key is to get good at those, right? Get good at that problem solving, at being able to code up those algorithms. If you get good at that, then you're going to be able to pass those interviews and get the job, because that's going to be the primary factor. Now, do I think that these things are important for the job? Do they, if you can solve, you know, these kind of algorithm problems, does it indicate that you're the best developer? No, not necessarily, but it's a filter that they use. And part of the reason why they use that filter is because developers that are smart enough to know that they need to learn how to ace these interviews are the ones that they want to hire. So it's not just the skills involved, right? It's the being willing to learn what's necessary in order to be able to pass those interviews. So you need to specifically, if you want a job for one of these big companies, my best advice to you is to have a strong resume. Definitely build it up as much as possible. learn how to pass these interviews. Specifically study for Google, Microsoft, Apple, Oracle interviews and solve those kind of problems that they're going to have. Like I said, you can look at that blog post I have on cracking the coding interview, and it recommends Gail's book of the same name, which has a lot of those problems in there. You can go to Top Coder. You can check out my Pluralsight course on that as well. And then the second thing I would say about this is get some kind of connection, or come, and I talk about this all the time, but get a personal referral, right? It's especially going to be important at one of these companies. Is don't just come in cold with your resume. You're going to still have to pass the interview, but in order to get to the interview, it's going to be better if you get a recommendation. If you make friends, you work out a way to meet someone who works there, and then they can recommend you. For information on that, check out in my book, Soft Skills, Software Developer's Life Manual. If you go there, there's a chapter on there on acing the job interview, and it's not about a job interview at all. It's about getting your foot in the door, which is the most important thing. So anyway, good question. I wish you the best of luck. I think it's a good strategy to work at one of these big companies as an apprenticeship before you become an entrepreneur. I think that you'll have a lot of success doing that. If you have a question for me, email me at john@simpleprogram.com. And if you like this video, subscribe to the channel. Take care.